Every morning you wake up, you manage how people see you. You protect a certain image of yourself. You defend your reputation when someone questions it. You explain yourself when someone misunderstands you. You work to maintain a version of yourself that feels acceptable, worthy, enough. And this work never stops. Because underneath it is a quiet fear that the version of yourself you have been maintaining could be exposed at any moment. That someone will see through it. That one failure or one criticism or one bad day will reveal something you have been trying to hide. That fear is exhausting. And most people carry it every single day without ever questioning where it came from. The Buddha watched people exhaust their entire lives protecting their identity. The self you have been protecting is not as solid as you think it is. It is not as fixed, not as permanent. And when you truly understand that, you stop feeling the need to constantly prove yourself to others. You stop feeling the need to protect your image. And when that need stops, the exhaustion that came from it stops too. The Buddha called this teaching Anatta, one of the 3 marks of existence in Buddhist understanding. It is usually translated as non-self. It does not mean you do not exist. It means the self you think you are is not a fixed permanent thing. It is a process. Always moving. Always changing. More like a river than a stone. And you cannot defend a river the way you defend a stone. You can only live it. Today we explore what this means for your worth. And what becomes possible when you stop defending something that was never as solid as you believed. Think about the last time. Maybe someone questioned your ability at something you considered yourself good at. Maybe a relationship ended and with it a version of yourself that had been built around that relationship. Notice what happened in that moment. The tightening in your chest. The urgent need to explain yourself. To defend yourself. What if the thing being attacked was never quite as solid as it felt? This is the suffering the Buddha was pointing to. Not the disruption itself, but the belief that the identity is you, rather than something you are temporarily wearing. The Buddha used a specific image to explain Anatta. It is one of the oldest teaching tools in the tradition, and it has survived 2,500 years. He asked a simple question: where is the chariot? Imagine a chariot standing in front of you. It has wheels, an axle, a frame, reins, a harness, all assembled together into what we call a chariot. Now remove the wheels. Is what remains still a chariot? Remove the axle. Remove the frame piece by piece. At what exact point did the chariot disappear? Was there ever really a chariot? Or was it always just a convenient name for a temporary arrangement of parts? The Buddha was not asking about chariots. He was asking about you. Where is the self? Is it the body? The body changes continuously. Cells replace themselves. Systems shift constantly. Is it your feelings? Feelings arise and pass. What felt completely true this morning feels different by evening. Is it your thoughts? Watch your thoughts for 10 minutes. They arise without your permission. They pass without your control. Is it your personality? Talk to someone who knew you 20 years ago. They will describe someone recognizable, and also genuinely different from who you are right now. At what point do you find the fixed, unchanging, permanent self that needed defending? The one whose worth needed proving? You will not find it. Not because you do not exist, but because what you are is not a fixed object. It is a process, a flame, a river, real and present and genuine, but never standing completely still. never quite the same from one moment to the next. You have been spending enormous energy defending something that was never solid enough to need defending. You have been exhausting yourself proving something that was never fixed enough to need proving. The self you believed needed protecting was always more like a river than a stone. And rivers do not need protection. They need room to flow. There was a philosopher in the Buddha's time named Vakagata. He came to the Buddha with one direct question. Does the self exist? He expected a direct answer. The Buddha said nothing. Vakagata tried again. Then does the self not exist? Still nothing. Vakagata tried again. Then does the self not exist? Still nothing. Vakagata left confused and frustrated. His disciple Anatta had been watching. He asked the Buddha afterward why he had stayed silent. The question seemed straightforward. Either the self exists, or it does not. The Buddha explained. If I had said yes, the self exists, I would have been supporting a dangerous belief. The belief that you are a fixed, permanent, unchanging thing. That belief causes suffering. Because it means you must constantly defend yourself against the reality that everything changes. Including you. If I had said no, the self does not exist, I would have been supporting a different dangerous belief. That nothing continues. That nothing matters. That there is no responsibility and no path. That belief causes a different kind of suffering. A kind of emptiness and meaninglessness that destroys the motivation to grow or change or heal. Both answers miss what is actually true. The self is neither completely fixed nor completely non-existent. It is a process. Real enough to matter. Fluid enough that clinging to it as if it were permanent causes unnecessary pain. Vakagata left without the clean answer he came for. He left with a question that had no simple resolution. And that question sitting inside him over time opened something that a simple answer never could have. Now here is what all of this means for self-worth. Most of the suffering people carry around self-worth comes from one belief. The belief that there is a fixed self inside them whose worth is constantly at stake. A self that can be proven adequate or proven inadequate. A self whose value rises when things go well and falls when things go badly. When you realize the self is not fixed and permanent, you stop feeling the need to constantly prove yourself to others. You stop feeling the need to protect your image. And when that need stops, the exhaustion that came from it stops too. Not because you stop caring about growth. Not because you stop trying. But because you are no longer spending your energy maintaining something that was never as fragile as you believed. You are no longer defending something that was never as solid as you thought. You do not have to prove a river. You only have to watch it move. You do not have to defend a flame. You only have to tend it. You do not have to establish the worth of a process. You only have to live it. Honestly. Fully. There was a monk named Kappa who chose to practice alone on a small island in the middle of a river. Not a comfortable island. Not a large one. Just a small rise of ground and moving water with a simple shelter built on it. The river moved around him on all sides. All day. All night. Never stopping. Other monks sometimes passed by on boats. They would see him sitting there, completely still while everything around him moved. They could not understand why he had chosen that place when quieter, more comfortable places were available. One of them finally asked him directly, "Why here? Why the island in the middle of the river?" Kappa looked at the water for a moment. Then he said, "Because I needed to learn the difference between what moves and what watches the moving." The river was always moving. The water that passed his island in the morning was gone by afternoon. Different water came. Then different water again. The river looked the same every day. But it was never the same water. Not once. And Kappa sat in the middle of it. Still. Not watching the water. Not watching the island. Not following the thoughts that arose in his mind the way the water arose around the ground he sat on. He was watching what was doing the watching. The awareness that noticed the river moving. The awareness that noticed the thoughts arising and dissolving. The awareness that was present through all of it without ever becoming any of it. That awareness was not the river. It was not the thoughts. It was not any of the things that were changing. It was what remained when he looked for what was doing the looking. He stayed on that island for a long time. Sitting. Watching. Until something became clear. Not just in his thinking. In his body. In the way he breathed. In the way he held himself. The self he had spent years protecting and maintaining was the river. Real. Present. Continuously moving. Never quite the same from one moment to the next. But the awareness within which that river moved was something else. Something quieter. Something that did not need to prove itself or protect itself or maintain a particular image of itself. Something that was simply there. Watching. Steady. Without effort. When Kappa understood the difference between the river and what was watching the river, something released in him. Not gradually. All at once. The way a fist opens when it finally stops gripping. He had been confusing himself with the river his whole life. Spending enormous energy trying to keep it flowing in a particular direction. Trying to keep it looking a particular way. Trying to protect it from disruption. And all along what he actually was had never needed any of that protection. It had simply been watching. Quietly. From the island. Waiting for him to notice it was there. Today. Practice these two. Both are simple. The first part takes 5 minutes. Find somewhere quiet. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes if that feels natural. Think of one identity you have been protecting recently. One specific description of yourself that has felt under threat. I am competent. I am a good parent. I am someone who has it together. I am someone who is respected. Find the one that has been costing you the most energy lately. Now ask yourself one honest question and sit with it quietly. If this identity were completely gone tomorrow, if no one thought of me this way anymore, if I had no way to prove it or maintain it or demonstrate it to anyone, what would remain? Do not rush toward an answer. Just sit with the question. Let it work inside you. What remains is not nothing. What remains is the awareness that is asking the question right now. The noticing. The witnessing. The quiet presence that was there before this identity existed and will be there after it. That is closer to what you actually are than any identity you have ever constructed or defended or exhausted yourself maintaining. The second part is for the rest of today. Every time you notice yourself defending an identity, every time the urgent need to explain or justify or prove yourself arises, pause, take one slow breath, and ask quietly, who is noticing this right now? Not what is happening. Who is noticing it? You do not need to answer that question. The asking is the entire practice. Because every time you ask it, you create a small gap between yourself and the identity being defended. And in that gap you get a brief glimpse of what Kappa found on his island. The awareness that was always watching the river. You are not who you think you are. The self you have been defending is real the way a river is real. But it is always moving. always changing, assembled moment by moment from causes and conditions that are themselves always changing. And a river cannot be held still without ceasing to be what it is. The pressure you have been living under. The constant invisible work of proving yourself. Protecting your image. Defending your worth against every threat. That pressure was always asking something impossible. It was asking you to hold still something that was never capable of holding still. To defend the permanent worth of something that was never permanent to begin with. Anatta does not say you have no worth. It says the question of worth was never really about the river. It was always about what the river moves through. The awareness. The noticing. The quiet presence that watches without becoming what it watches. That awareness has never needed proving. It has never needed defending. It simply is. Before every identity you have ever worn. Kappa sat on his island until the difference between the water and the watching became clear. Not just as an idea. As something he felt in his body. In his breath. In the way he no longer needed to be anywhere other than exactly where he was. The river does not need to earn its right to flow. It simply flows. The awareness within which your life moves does not need to earn its right to be here. It simply is. You simply are. Before the identities. Before the proving. Before the defending. Simply. Here. Aware. Enough. In the next lesson we go deeper. We look at something most people have been chasing their entire lives, believing it would make them feel worthy. Something the world calls self-esteem. And we look honestly at why chasing it makes the problem worse rather than better. And what the Buddha pointed toward instead. Something more stable. More honest. More genuinely available to every human being regardless of what their performance on any given day produced. That lesson is next.